I'm so inspired, and you can see that I am because there are things everywhere on my desk. Like May stuff and oops. And other stuff. It's from all the boxes, roses and old writing and flowers, other flowers, roses are flowers, newsflash. These strips of patterned paper from this book about fabrics or tapestries or whatever it was, I don't know. And I just want to use these up, I think, or I guess I'm not entirely sure what I'm doing here, but it's kind of a shop your stash kind of vibe, I guess. And I might make some like separate pieces, you know, when you make things just so that you have things to put in your journal later. And I'm also going to add some stuff into my actual journal. And I did some things yesterday after filming while I was waiting for dinner, because dinner wasn't finished when I came down. So I had some like 10 minutes to journal. So I had a napkin that I glued onto this spread, it's a part of the home project spreads, and that's a very loose term. Home projects can be just documenting what we eat. I do write our dinners on my dailies, but I also gather them all here in one list. Same with TV and film. So I started watching A Teacher on Netflix yesterday, and I'm only listening to Impera right now. It's just, and I always begin with Watcher in the Sky. So right now, sometimes I think you need to, when you journal, you sort of need to look at things from the perspective of yourself in 10 years. Because in 10 years, I'll have no idea what I listen to at this point. I may have a new favorite band by then. So the really banal everyday things can be very interesting in a few years. So yes, I used, this is the same napkin actually. It was full of different like flowers and fruits and stuff. So I just cut out the purple roses or whatever it is here and put it on this spread. And I very purposefully didn't make this perfect, because I can't make perfect film strips or anything really. So I thought, well, I'm going to show that I didn't even make an effort. So that's why it's really carelessly done. I started using these pages that I prepared to write about my tidying habit that's non-existent. So yesterday evening I wrote about the kitchen and what I liked about it, what I didn't like about it, and the things I didn't like I actually did something about. I removed some stuff that didn't need to be there. So I'm not saying this is a panacea that will work forever, but right now this is a good idea and a good tip, I guess. So I journal about the room. I sit in a room and I journal about it. And this morning I journaled about the bedroom. So it says there is laundry everywhere. And I wrote about that. And then I took care of some of the laundry. Yes. It was a lot, so I didn't have time before work to handle all of it, but maybe half of it. So, and now, because these pages, the point of them is that they're so pretty, you know, with roses and stuff, colors, that I go back to them because I like to flip through colorful pages. And when I see these journaling entries, I mean, the very first thing I've written is laundry. So I see the heading, the bedroom, and then I see laundry. So anytime I flip through this and I know there's laundry in the bedroom, I will be reminded by this page and maybe inspired to go and do something about it. I also thought of, I had this reorganization idea and I tried it out and it worked. So that was also something good that came out of my journaling page. So I was thinking this page would be for my craft room. I don't know. I was thinking I was going to do it on camera, but I don't know. Maybe that's boring. Me just writing about how cluttered my craft room is. I don't know. Maybe later. Here I wrote about my shoulder that's giving me grief. There's always something. And while I was in a meeting today where I didn't have to talk, I only had to listen. So I listened, I promise. I was thinking, I wanted this page, well, my thinking now is I'm trying to use up pages because I like to change books every month. And one way of doing that is to only have writing on one side, and that I actually like the look of that as well, because, well, like this page, yes, I like it. I've used the template. I have a video on crafting templates. So I used one of those templates. I actually have it here. Just quickly. Go to the someday maybe stuff. This one. This is the template I used. 2 strips with 2 pictures. Anyway, I mean, this is fine. I like this, but I also really like when one page is only pretty, only pictures and stuff. So I wrote about my shoulder here, and I didn't want something else to sort of take away from that here. So I rummaged through my fashion illustration pictures. It's from a book about fashion illustration. And I found this one that sort of went with the color scheme, and her shoulder looks, I mean, seriously, it looks dislocated. And she's looking kind of down about it. So it was really, I mean, it's kind of pretty, but it's also like, this sucks. So I chose that, and then this is from a book about watercolor painting, and these are roses. So I made that as a background, and I really like the result. I mean, now I've written one journaling entry about, you know, the current state of affairs when it comes to my shoulder, and then just a picture that makes it pretty. So even though it's really something negative in my life right now, I can still make it pretty. I journaled about this book that I might want to write a prequel for. And I really like this page, the spread. Here I added, I mean, this person, I thought she looks a bit like one of my fantasy book characters. So I wrote her name here and an idea, because I put these flames here, and I have more flames, and I think I'm going to put them here to sort of make this, why not do it now, to make it symmetrical. And let's see, I think I need to cut like this. The flames made me think, you know, maybe this, because this character has been kind of a throwaway character, walk-on character who doesn't do much. She's a librarian. And then I thought, you know, maybe she's not that boring. Maybe she has a secret identity. And if this book ever comes out, maybe I shouldn't reveal my idea. But, well, the flames sort of inspired an idea that actually made me, develop this character further. So sometimes journaling can have that side effect. So do I put it like this, or do I put the flames in front of her? I don't know. It doesn't. Not quite loving that. So perhaps put it behind her like this, or you know, remove all this because it's dark and takes away from her. Maybe I should remove these as well and only have the flames. Yeah, that's what I'm gonna do. So I made this spread yesterday, and then I found this other flame, you know, it's a piece from an image from a book of fairy tales. Yeah, this is quite like what's it called, subtle. You don't see it very well, but that's actually good in this case. It's not too on the nose. So yeah, I found this picture in my box of pictures and thought, oh, so I have, it's from the same book as this, so it goes together well. And, you know, why not just add it to make the picture, the spread more cohesive. And, I mean, this is the wrong glue to use here, but it's just for now, because I don't feel like messing about with PVA glue. Here I have just inked a spread. It's for planner plans, because I know every month I will have plans for my next book, so I need a spread to write about it. As I said, this is my project, home project section, and I mean, very broad term. So I write about what I would like to, you know, like for example, the book I'd like to write, ideas for my world stuff. And I actually put some post-its to remind myself what other spreads I can make. And I had an idea actually to, for each front book, I could go to my someday maybe section in the back and choose one project per someday maybe list. So for example, this is the interior decoration and fixing things list. So the idea is that I pick one of these things, make a spread about it in the front book, which is only for May. It's transitory, it's current, but just to inspire me to actually do something, because this is a graveyard of ideas and I don't like that. I would like to keep them fresh, but I don't like to just read through these lists just for the sake of it. They're boring, you know, it's just a list of ideas. So just immersing myself in an idea, making a spread about it, might inspire me to move forward on that idea. I don't know, but it's something to try. What else did I do? I did this one. I'm not super psyched about the colors on this one. I might have to do something about it. I don't know. I like the shoes and the dress and stuff, but this orangey coral background really looks weird. I don't remember if I showed you this, but I'm really pleased with it. This background is actually, you know, when I make spreads like this, where I use acrylics, I use scrap paper. This is from an out-of-date planner, like a bought planner with dates that I never used. And I blot pages with it when the color is, when I lay it on too thick, I blot the page with one of these, and then I just fill in the blanks, as it were, because as you can see, this one is, I mean, there's white space on this one, so I would add something like another hue of blue. Let's do it actually. What about this one? I have some inks over here. Ooh. So just to make it not white, because who wants white paper? Am I right? Oops, that was not the plan. I am so stupid. But this is just to show you that you can really use trash. This would be trash. It's just a blotting paper, you know. I need something to. What do I do? Here's something. Just to protect the table. Not that it needs protecting, but never mind. Yeah, these throwaway things, you can use them and make beautiful backgrounds from them. And it's also very, I don't know what to call it, intuitive, spontaneous, unpredictable. I mean, I'm not making deliberate patterns on this page. I'm just letting it soak up the acrylics, and then I fill in the blanks with something else, and it becomes something I didn't plan that I can then use as a background for something else. So say that I want to use this. It's got this texture. Let's see. Maybe this would look good. Maybe not. What about this? Well, no. I don't really know. Something blue, perhaps. I don't have anything blue on my desk right now. I like that. Might glue that on later, but it's not dry yet. So, you know, you just try to build something with it. Or maybe this, actually. This is kind of a complementary, almost complementary color. No. Or maybe just use it as a frame for something like this. So cut like that. It's a bit too, the colours are too strong for this, but I did like that. Maybe as a belly band. And then what else? What else? And shall I couple hell? That could work. It could, but it needs more, probably more, some other hue of blue, or indeed some kind of border. You know, it's starting to look kind of interesting. I'm not going to do it now, but that's just one idea. I'm going to put it to the side like this so I don't forget, because I did kind of like it. Anyway, so what do I want to do now? And this was just such a page. It was just blotting. I blotted pink and black or brown and some kind of purple here and a lot of gold, and then I filled it in with a brown ink. Should I do today's page? No, I don't. I think I'm going to make something of the stuff on my desk. I'm really feeling the old writing here since I did the Shakespeare spread. So I was thinking this is from the same storybook as The Flames, but I don't like trolls. But I do like this, oh wait, maybe not destroy this. How about that? Because I was going to cut this out and the ink bottle and put it onto this, but now I don't know. I think I like that too much. So what do I do instead? Maybe do something with Shakespeare. Cut him out. This is from a dust jacket, so there's writing on his hair and his forehead, unfortunately. But maybe I can still use it. But how? How do I sort of make that not irritating? I don't know. Actually, that's a later problem. I like this, so I'm just going to glue that down. And then, oops, okay. You know, you don't have to make all the decisions at once. You can just start something and let it lie on your desk until you have more ideas. I like that. No. I keep trying to use that flower, but just isn't the right... No. Okay, I'll put that to the side. What else? Well, I have this that I really like. And where's that flower? No, oh, wasn't it this idea that I had? Could I cut this and use... No, it's not enough. Not enough lace, as it were. I call this lace, I don't know. It's a doily. This would be so pretty if it was the same all around it, but I can't find any more. This is not a very productive craft with me, but hopefully you can get some ideas anyway. What do I do? Now I feel put on the spot. Suddenly all inspiration left me, or all ideas. I don't know. Maybe cut out some tulips to use in my May planner. Why not? Because May is red for me, so these red tulips really work. And I'm not quite sure when the tulips will come up. Right now, the snow is almost completely gone, but everything is just brown outside. So it will take a while for for it to look like the Netherlands out here, but I say we, it's my husband. He planted like 100 leeks in the autumn, so hopefully they will come up colourful and opulent. They did last year. It was the local newspaper even made wrote an article on it, because it really was something. You know, the sheer volume, we have a really small garden, but it was overrun with tulips of all different colors, and it was glorious. So we had our 15 minutes of fame. Tulip fame. So, using tulips in my journal makes me look forward to this year's tulips. This looks kind of good, but I don't know. Maybe on one of these pages instead. This is the reflections impact section. Oh, maybe this could help with this. Yeah, I think it does. It looks better. Or maybe use a rose that has more, like, if I cut this out, let's see how that looks. Because it picks up the actual pink in the skirt. I mean, I wish the skirt was red and white instead of pink and white. That would look better on this page. So that's kind of what pleases me when it comes to that tulip that is red. But maybe this fits better. We'll see. All this fussy cutting. How do I cut this? Like that? Don't know. I'm not convinced. It looks weird. Maybe it's because it should be somewhere else on a page. Like, I don't know. How about this? Almost. I'll have to be on the lookout for pink flowers. Maybe this one. Still not sure. I mean, yeah, I made a video about quicker crafting, but most of the time it's not that quick because, I don't know, I don't always use my template, and also sometimes there are other things that are difficult, like color schemes and stuff, that things that don't really go together. So there are lots of problems to solve. Anyway, I am going to glue this in somewhere. Is this... I don't like it together with that colour. What about this spread? Oh yeah, this could be... Because marathon, this signifies... Oh, yes. Wait a minute, I need some colour. Let's see, I'm gonna get some stuff. Here I actually have a, what's it called? A jar with tissue paper in it and water. So it's soaking in water to, you know, get all the good stuff out. So I want a red background. I'm not sure why. Maybe because marathon begins with an M, and I'm just... This is not nearly red enough. Okay. So I'll have to, okay, I'll just make one layer and maybe it needs to soak for longer. Anyway, I'll make one layer and this will take forever. Oops. And then go over it with some other type of color. Maybe, oh, I don't have my plastic gloves here, or latex gloves. I should have them before I start inking stuff. My hands, I tell you, they look, well, let's put it like this. There's no point having fake nails and stuff because I look like a manual worker. I often look like I've injured myself when I've used like red and browns. So anyway, yes, marathon is this event that we host every year, but now it's 2 years since we hosted it. It's for local fans of Rush. And we meet and just watch Rush footage and documentaries and concert films for, well, like 10 hours or something. And this year we're hosting it in May, so of course it needs its own spread. And they have a song on their final album, Clockwork Angels. They had a song called The Garden, if I'm remembering that correctly. It's a while since I listened to it, I'm sorry to say. Are there any, oh yes, here's a pair of gloves, used ones. Yes, The Garden, and they had this, when they played it live, they had this projection on their backdrop of flowers, like burgeoning flowers, and they looked kind of like this, if I'm not entirely, if I remember correctly, you know. Water. So that would be a really good symbol for them on this spread. Lots of flowers. So what is this spread supposed to be? Well, I will need to make a to-do list for this event because, you know, we need to buy food and put people up, like they need to have somewhere to sleep because they're staying over. This is an all-night event, and so there needs to be some journaling space on this spread, but mostly I want it to be a celebration of this event, like exuberant, and yeah, just like making this spread is like revving up to the event, and reminding myself, because I guess when you're a tactile person, making things with your hands make you remember them more, I suppose. So me making this will put that event at the forefront of my mind, and I won't forget that it's happening. So I start preparing in time, hopefully. So yeah, I'm not telling you what I'm doing, but this paper, I don't know what to call it, but my husband bought it for me. It's kind of like, we call it crepe paper, and it's really probably bad quality since it seeps, the color seeps out so easily. But that actually works for my purposes, so. All right, so lots of flowers, perhaps not only tulips, but I probably only want illustrations, not real flowers, not photographs, because the backdrop or the projections they had, if I remember correctly, they were illustrated, those flowers. I know I have more roses somewhere, like illustrations of roses, but right now, I don't know. Maybe this, could I use this, or is it too, they're a bit more vague, you know, than these. This is also all the red flowers I can find. I know I have more of that. It's also from that book about watercolor. Oh, look at that. That might actually work. Maybe this bookmark? Or is it too different? Maybe it's too different. If I want to use this, I think I need to really fussy cut it or paint it red so that it doesn't stand out too much. And now that I see this, there's too little yellow in it. So what I'm going to do, first I'm going to put this that I used to sort of blot this. I'm going to put that in this jar to make the water more red. I have tissue paper in there, now I put the crepe paper to help it along. And here I have some yellow crepe paper. So let's go over this again with the yellow to make it more, I mean, I really don't like this color. It's too, I don't know, is it cold? It feels like it's cold even though it's red. And I'm not, it's like light red, it's not even pink. Ugh. But this will help that, I think. This will take forever. Maybe just let it lie on the page. And I've already used this once, so that's why it's kind of bunched up. It needs to be really wet. Oh, here's a butterfly, or maybe two butterflies. I can put that in there after I put the flowers. Okay, so is this looking any better? I mean, I'm going to cover a lot of this up, so it doesn't all have to be perfect. But I need one more hue, I think. So maybe just a little bit of this, because that's what I've used on this side. come on, come on. I'm really soaking the book now, so hopefully it won't go. No, there are several pages that protect the pages where I've written something. I guess this is kind of a new way of filming. I mostly talk about what I've already done, or I have like a tutorial of sorts, but this is just me doing stuff. No voiceover, no speeding up, nothing, just me doodling along. I don't know if that's the optimal format, but yeah, I don't think this will fit, so away it goes. But what about this? I'm kind of loath to use it up. It's a bit too pretty, I think. Nah, I don't like the white. Let's just cut some more of these tulips and see how we go. And I really fussy cut the first one, so now I have to really fussy cut the second one. No white edges, or almost no white. I might go over it with some distress inks, because I've done that with these two. And that helps any white edges if you fussy cut a bit too carelessly. You can cover it up white with distress inks. Maybe I should look up what their backdrop looks like, or the projections they use, so that I try to make it resemble that. But I don't think I will, because I'm not going to say I'm lazy. I'm going to say I'm too sort of engrossed now in the process. I don't want to stop what I'm doing. I'm not sure about this one. What have we got? I'm going to have to think. Maybe there are napkins I could use, like just for general background, and then put these on top. Or is that too, maybe it's too busy. Maybe it is. What about this one that I took out yesterday and never used? Again, it's the colors that they're not quite right. Roses, no. I'm gonna have a look in my napkin box again to see if there are any other flowers, birds. Not the right stuff. No. Where else can I look? Maybe in the well, here's another box. Random pictures pictures that all of them haven't been cut out yet, so maybe I can find something. Actually, what about this one? I don't know, maybe not. Maybe it's too weird. This box is just full of everything under the sun. Random pictures that are waiting for categorization, I suppose. Doesn't feel like I'm going to find what I need here. Maybe I'll just use the tulips and be done with it. This might actually work. What's this? I feel like Jack Skellington in Christmas Land. What's this? What's this? Just looking for stuff. Waiting to be inspired. These are not flowers, but this is, right now it inspires me because this is what I'm doing. I'm using colors and stuff, so I might make another spread about that because it's been a while since I painted and did all these things. Oh, look at this. Vellum. Okay, maybe stop looking now and try to use the things I've found, or do I? Will I find something more? Maybe there's the lost treasure of Tutankhamun somewhere in here. All right. Oh, napkins. Just drop them on the floor so I have more to clean up later. Okay, so I don't like the blue background, that doesn't fit, so I will just cut out the flower. The problem is that this seems like something that won't stick. It's very plasticky. I don't know if PVA glue will work, but maybe, what if I use double-sided tape? Or will that be visible through the vellum? I don't know if that's the right word for this. Maybe it's just plastic. But I do like the flower. It feels very rushy, very The Garden, as I was saying. I really am enjoying this process though. I just want to say that. I read, I think it was on Reddit the other day, about, it wasn't about crafting, I think, but it was about creativity and making things that nobody likes but you. And being fine with that, you know, that everything you make doesn't have to be sold or like approved by others. There are so many things that you just do because you like them. Nobody else likes them. Who cares? It's yours. And this really is that. I mean, I was keeping this to use as like a page in a signature, but I mean, it's only, I mean, I think it works very well as a pattern, even cut out. So that's what I'm going to do. The leaf and the flowers. There won't be any of the background left once I'm finished with this. I realize that. But that's kind of, I mean, yes, you do cover things up. And I have had so much trouble with that. I haven't wanted to cover up things that I've done. Like if I inked a page, I feel like it's so beautiful on its own without anything on it that I don't want to write. I don't want to add any stuff. But it does look better when you add stuff. It's the layers that do it. And I am so bad at layers. So I really have to remind myself all the time to make layers, because, you know, if I like a picture, I tend to just chuck it onto the page without doing anything with it. I have such respect for the original, but you know, then it's not yours. This is starting to look a bit too 70s for my taste. How about, but this I like. What if, because this, since it's a bit darker and more brown, it fades into the background. And maybe the small tulips, where are they now? Here. Maybe they could be, I don't know. Is this even any good? I do like this. Maybe this, is it a, what's it called? Poppy. Maybe it would go better on a page with this. Maybe. There's so much to take into account. Color and shapes and room to write, at least some of the time. And now I'm really deviating from my crafting template. I'm going to cover most of this up, so I have no templates for that. But I should, because I do like having just a small window for writing, and the rest of it is just color and pretty pictures. So let's see. I haven't cut it all yet, but this doesn't fit. What about this? Maybe remove the leaf actually, and this is also a leaf, I think. Is this even, do I like this? I'm not sure. Well, yeah, I kind of do. It's still wet, so I can't glue it down unless I use the PVA glue. Do I use the PVA glue? Yeah. Yeah. Okay. The opening has broken. It's broken, so I need to use a brush to get at the glue. Okay. I have no idea what I'm doing. It's glorious. And I might go over this with my Derwent Inktense pencils to make it go together better. To make everything, like the background and the flowers, be more of the same color. So this becomes sort of a shadow to this one because they turn the same way. How do I make this look natural? Like they're really growing, you know. And another question, do I leave this side completely free from stuff? Maybe, no, it looks a bit weird. Do I put all of the flowers on this side? I could. No, it's too cluttered. Not good at all. So, well, this looks kind of good, doesn't it? So yeah, as I was saying, I think I'm using PVA glue, just woodwork glue from the local hardware store. I found that it doesn't smell, and things really stick, so that's good. Yeah, I like it, and it dries invisible, so that's also good. It does make some paper warp because it's wet and all that, but you know, you just have to experiment, see what works. This is not my usual style. The only reason I even like this is that it reminds me of that song. So that's kind of funny. You can deviate from your aesthetic for good reasons. Okay, I need something here to cover up this awkward corner. I could do that. Yeah, why not? It works. Then I don't have to fussy cut this stuff, which I was kind of dreading. So this becomes really, this is really the foreground. Look at that. I am going to cut off the things that sort of hang off the edges, just so you know. Probably won't be using that one. Okay, let's see. Trim this. And maybe this is kind of looking a bit awful. Maybe. But that's okay. Everything is okay. I still like it. It's something, it looks kind of life-affirming. Maybe this should go on some other page instead. Like, maybe on a white page. Although this, it looks kind of weird because of this. I mean, the flower looks like that, I get it, but maybe later. So, do I want some kind of border over here to balance the spread? I think I do. But what? This is looking kind of odd. Maybe I should have something in the middle, like a washi tape. If I had one that fit this. What do I do with this? Maybe. Well, naturally I have to clean it, but not right now. Maybe just use a tiny part of this because it echoes that side. as I'm doing this, I'm thinking about the event and starting to look forward to it and thinking about the people that will come here to take part in it. So it's having the intended effect. This is making me happy on several levels. Makes me look forward to the event. I'm just removing some glue. And, you know, it has me crafting. So, I mean, that's usually happiness enough. But now I have this added dimension of looking forward to the event. So, does this work? No, I think it's the fact that I have distressed it on the edges that makes it not work. I think I need to find one more tulip from this book to put here, like a smaller one. Be right back. So I looked through my stash on the hunt for tulips. I didn't find tulips. I found other things that I sort of liked. I don't think I'm going to use these things here, but somewhere. Maybe this one. This is nice. This could actually be a journaling card for this page. Maybe I'll make a pocket. And because I'm not sure I want to write on this page because it might ruin it. Sometimes writing just breaks the flow of things, and I think this is that kind of page. I won't like it if I or maybe a belly band like that. No, that looks weird. What if I cut this here, put a flower on it, and then a journaling card with maybe, I don't know, this is kind of nice as well, but maybe not. Well, I do like this, but I think the focal point needs to be a bit less in your face. What about the owl? That could be Neil Peart. That's actually quite nice, even though it's missing half its brain. Layers, remember, layers. Or is this too much? These are both from that book about fabrics, by the way, or tapestries. Kind of different patterns from different parts of the world. Kind of like it, but maybe it's too busy with this. It's if this wasn't the focal point of the whole spread, I might use this because this would be too boring. But now it needs to calm down instead. So I'll use this. And I think double-sided tape is the way to go. Where do I have that? On another table. I have 3 tables in my craft room. One for, well, for filming, I guess. and for work. So I have my computer and stuff on it. And then I have one that's, well, the idea was that it would be for like dry journaling. I don't know, what do I mean with that? Because one side is for inking, so there's a lot of color and stuff, but the dry side, I sort of meant to glue things on there so it's not entirely dry, but at least it doesn't stain with color. But anyway, so my stuff can be anywhere on these 3 tables. Ugh. The page is not entirely dry yet, so it's not ideal, but I am an impatient person and I can't wait. That sometimes means that the result is not as good as it could have been, and I can live with that. I don't like the colors of these butterflies. But they're the ones I have. I've used up all the good ones. Unless, maybe I have those things from those images. This box, I'm going to look through it now. I had this book. I bought a book from a library about insects, and I think they would like it in my garden. Look at that. Oh, and here is, I like that. And here is another one. I might use that for another spread. And I like this. Oh my god. And that. You know, one way of journaling is just to pick what catches your eye and do something with it, because you will get ideas. I mean, or if you're anything like me, obviously you will get ideas. You will get ideas just by using stuff. Let's see, I really like that. Maybe I can do a spread about wine. Oh, and here we have, look, more tulips. So this is where they were hiding. Oh, and that one, perfect. Maybe I have enough now. Maybe stop rummaging and start crafting. But there's so much beautiful stuff in here. Never mind. Sorry, I'm being so boring. I don't think I'll leave this room until midnight. I actually have a night by myself as well. My husband has other commitments, so I can just sit here crafting all night. He'll be back by midnight or something. This is the color I want. Depends on whether... Oh, why not? I don't need the bulb. That's not the beautiful bit. And I'm cutting really carelessly. But I mean, look at the spread. I don't need to be careful. I am going to, well, I'll do it now. Just cut out the white stuff. There. Maybe the owl, and maybe make a journaling card. Although I'm not sure. I mean, it's perfect for a journaling card because it's a pretty picture, but I'm not sure if it works on this particular spread. Not sure at all. Oh, look at that one. And that one. Maybe I should have looked through this before gluing these on. Maybe it should be on this side, and maybe that one should be here. I don't know. So if I don't use that one as a journaling card, what do I use? Maybe a darker thing? No. Or maybe an actual, maybe one of these. Although I don't like the white, that's a problem. This is lovely. Maybe, I mean, this isn't an illustration, but it's just, I still like it. Maybe it fits. Let's see what it looks like when I've cut it out. So much cutting. That's the punishment when you don't want to buy ready-made, ready cut things. And I don't feel, I mean, I look at others using stickers and I love it. I feel like, oh, that's something I'd like to do and it's pretty, but it's just something about them that doesn't make me feel creative, so it doesn't work. There's nothing wrong with them, it's just, it's not for me. Something like that. And the owl, or maybe no owl. Maybe, no. Here's another one. That might work. It's not as in your face as that one. So if I put this that I used as a, just for protection, even now, what am I saying? Just now, where is the glue stick? Oh, wait, just This is easier way of doing it. And I have the song looping through my brain. The measure of life is a measure of love and respect. I'm not quite sure about the lyrics anymore. Na, 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 na. So hard to earn, so easily burned. In the fullness of time, a garden to nurture and protect. I'm really bulking up the book with this one, but why not? Maybe put it up here so you can't see that half its brain is missing. Is missing. No. What about this? No. I have to make some decisions. This is a bit too light somehow. The rest is so red. So maybe this one actually fits better, and this echoes this and this, so it's probably better. But I don't want all these like scraggly bits, so maybe just ignore them. These images of tulips are all from a book about tulips in the 17th century, and you know, the Dutch craze for them, and all these old, I guess they're kind of advertisements for the tulips on sale to show people what kinds there were. I'm not sure. But I mean, people went crazy for them, so I guess artists did as well. And I bought it second-hand. I mean, everything except the glue is from second-hand stores. Come on. Okay, so does this fit? It kind of does. You know why? Because the background was black and gives a kind of outline that echoes these, even though these were textile prints. Something completely different, but they kind of do the same thing. So I think I'm gonna dare to use this. The alternative is, well, maybe not. Maybe it's too much. Maybe this is enough. but maybe I want the owl. I think I want the owl. I mean, yes, it's Neil. Let's just say that it's Neil, and yeah. A way to remember and honor him. Yeah, that's where it goes. Exactly that spot. Sometimes you just stumble on the solution. You just see that it works. Something about the lines harmonizing. Oops. Glue gets everywhere. I'm not entirely sure. I mean, I could have done more to the background. It looks a bit unfinished. It's not got enough texture, I think. Well, it's got some texture, but it could have used maybe some more brown, but I can go over it with my Derwent Inktense pencils. And hopefully I'll get the effect I'm looking for. So, that side or that side? Oh. I think it needs some distressing. And I actually use one of these, what's it called? You wash the dishes with them instead of a bought, whatever they're called. And it's not as efficient as the professional thing, but it works. Okay, so this is where I journal about marathon, and now I don't need the placeholder post-it anymore because I know what this is about. It's not very pretty, I realize that, but I like it, I do. Although this should have had some kind of border actually, like something dark around the edges. That would just look better. So maybe use some of this. Or is it dark enough? I'm not sure. Let's try this. that works. So cover this up. Work is all undone. But that's crafting for you. 2 steps forward and 1 step back. It's fine. No, wrong way. So I need to back it with new paper. I'm just going to find some coffee dyed paper. Oh, maybe the back should also have a border. Why not? I can cut this off. And of course, distress it. Ooh. This tends to happen a lot. I get glue everywhere and it really, I don't like the marks it leaves, but I still don't, I'm not careful enough while I'm working. I have no one else to blame but myself. Right, so journaling spot. Flowers, sunflowers growing out of the head of that owl. So I might write some small, I don't know, maybe quotes from the song actually. But then I need to know the actual words. So I think I'll add that later when I'm sitting in my kitchen chair by the window and when I'm relaxed, instead of doing it on camera. I don't think that's a good idea. So what do we do with the things we didn't use? We put it here. No. I am using up all the pages. I can't find any. Where do I want it? Maybe on... It's too big. No, too silly. Maybe in the back here, on my morning journaling pages. Morning pages. I don't know. That one? Yes. Why not? Oh, and this has dried now. What did I want to do with that? Don't remember. Maybe this would look good. Not really. I don't remember what I wanted to do. This looks kind of nice. I could glue this onto a page and or this. Nah, I don't know. I want to use this. But what, why? For what purpose? Ooh. I mean, the obvious thing here would be to journal about wine or about grapes. But I don't know if I want to do that. I could be inspired to watch something that, like a documentary or a film that treats on wine. I like this. What do I do? Or actually, you know what? I bought the Song of Achilles today. Achilles. And I think I could, you know, with some goodwill, I could view this as like a symbol for the Greeks. You know, the gods and all that in her world, Madeline Miller's world. And write about the book, because I'm going to start reading it, and no. This one's nice. Maybe not right now. Maybe think about it for a while. So, that's one spread, at least. I've got one spread to show for the past 1.5 hours or whatever it is. But I like it, and now I'm all in the mood for marathon and rush.